It's no secret that I'm a little bit of a Corsair fanboy. In truth, I actually own a lot of Corsair products, which is why when I was looking for a wireless mouse to replace my old Mad Catz RAT-TE, which I've been gaming on for many years, I tried my best to stay away from the brand with the shit. Alas, after hours of sailing the internet, trawling through brands such as Logitech, Razer, SteelSeries and Alienware, Dell, I was struggling to find anything that matched my requirements, my budget, and was also aesthetically pleasing. Eventually, I gave in and found myself staring at the Corsair website, and eventually I settled on the Corsair Dark Core RGB Pro wireless gaming mouse. This one, here. And, well, I've been using it ever since. Let's take a look, shall we? Before we get into the video, I'd just like to remind you wonderful people that I have an awesome community over on Discord where we talk about tech, streaming, gaming, and why pizza delivery guys are the real heroes. And the link to that is in the description. If after watching this review you find yourself wanting a Dark Core RGB Pro, you'll have two options to choose from. You've got the RGB Pro and the RGB Pro SE. The only real difference is that the RGB Pro SE has QI wireless charging, meaning you can use it with one of Corsair's MM1000 wireless charging mousepads. I personally prefer a desk pad like my MM300. I did say I was a Corsair fan. But the option is there, and it'll only cost you an extra $10 US or an extra £10 if you're here in the UK. And that's not the only choice you have when it comes to the Corsair Dark Core RGB Pro. You see, when you connect this thing to your computer, you have three different options. You can either use the included USB A to C cable, which is braided, by the way, or you can use Bluetooth or the USB 3.0 dongle, which uses Corsair's Slipstream technology, a 2.4 GHz wireless band that boasts a sub 1 millisecond response time and exceptionally stable signal and ultra long range. I can't find out exactly how long the range is supposed to be, but it works from about halfway down my garden, which is pretty good. And the flexibility you have when it comes to connectivity opens up the door to controlling multiple PCs with the same mouse without any special software. For example, you could have the mouse connected to Bluetooth on your laptop, plug the USB dongle into your desktop, and change between the two using the switch on the underside of the mouse just here. I used to do this before I upgraded my desktop, and when I still used my laptop as a streaming PC. So if you have a dual PC setup or maybe a PC Mac setup, this might be the mouse for you. So what else are you getting for your money? Well, the Dark Core RGB Pro comes with a custom PixArt 18000 DPI optical sensor with 1 DPI resolution steps for incredible accuracy. On switches rated for 50 million clicks on the left and right mouse buttons, and a battery that will supposedly last up to 36 hours if you're using Slipstream, or up to a whopping 50 hours on Bluetooth. That goes down to about 16 or 18 hours if you're using the 9-zone RGB on the mouse, but more on that later. The battery itself is an internal rechargeable lithium polymer battery, which may not be to everyone's tastes, but as someone who doesn't buy AA batteries very often, I personally find it very useful. Finally, Corsair, in all of their glorious omnipotence, have given you the option between two different side panels for the right hand side of your mouse. You can either opt for a smoother, more traditional side panel, or if you're like me, you may prefer the textured side panel that I use here. The little bumps on it make it much easier to hold for me, and not having to drag my pinky across my mouse mat all the time prevents a lot of friction burn in my case. Speaking of comfort, the Dark Core RGB Pro is pretty comfortable. The material coating the back of the mouse is pretty smooth, but it has these bumps that give it grip regardless, making it feel soft in the hand. I've been able to use it for reasonably long gaming sessions without any sort of fatigue. The mouse wheel has the same texture to it too, so it's easy to scroll down long documents. Unfortunately, the device is missing the infinite scroll that you might see on some Logitech mice, but it's still pretty decent. The clicks feel good, and the forwards and back buttons are perfectly aligned with the thumbs and are easily struck. The DPI switches are large enough to be useful, and I've rarely ever hit them in the heat of battle. For all this goodness though, I do unfortunately have a couple of gripes with this mouse. As someone who likes to have a lot of area to rest their palm, the adjustable length for my previous mouse was a real blessing to me, and I wish the Dark Core RGB Pro had the same. Unfortunately it doesn't, so I do wish it could either be a little bit longer or just a tad less sloped at the back to make it a bit more comfortable, but it is what it is. However, worse than this is the texture of the click buttons. I don't know if this is something specific to me, but the oil on my skin seems to get caught up on the clicks and it leaves this little residue behind. I mean, it's easy enough to just wipe off, but it's one of those things that keeps coming back and making you super uncomfortable. Just like my ex-girlfriend. One thing that may grind your gears a little bit is the weight of the mouse. At 146 grams, it is not the lightest mouse on the market. However, most of the weight is at the back towards your wrist, so you don't really feel it too much when using the mouse and it doesn't cause any stress in your fingers. So don't worry too much about that. Now let's talk RGB. The Dark Core RGB Pro has 9 individual LED zones. However, only 8 of them are actually configurable. The 9th is a notification light which indicates things like low battery, connection status, etc. Some mice go really over the top with their LEDs, flashing in your face like a drunk college student at a beach party. But the lighting on this device is a lot more sophisticated. Like a fine wine on a red summer's eve, the lighting on this mouse perfectly accents the beef bourguignon that is the body of the device. No, I'm not proud of that. I know a lot of people who are scared of using a wireless mouse because of issues with latency, but personally, I haven't really had an issue with it. I mean, sure, I'm not a professional gamer, but the chances are most people who buy this mouse don't roll with the pros either, so you probably won't really feel anything. The 2000 Hz polling rate between the mouse and your computer will see to that, as long as you're using the slipstream dongle. Now, I have had my mouse die in the middle of a game of Warzone, but thankfully it wasn't a particularly crucial moment, and to be honest, it was mostly my fault for not having charged the device in the few days prior. The mouse functions perfectly well when wired though, so I was able to get back up and running almost instantly. And what I'd recommend is that if you have a pass-through port on the back of your keyboard, use that to plug your mouse into. It is a godsend. As you'd expect, the Dark Core runs on Corsair's IQ software, which, while a tad buggy, is easily best in class when it comes to peripheral lighting solutions. The options are easy accessible, firmware updates are easy, and customizing your lighting can be done in just a few clicks. The Dark Core can also store up to 3 different lighting profiles on its onboard memory, so you can take your effects anywhere and switch between them using the button just below the scroll wheel. These profiles can store almost anything configurable in IQ, which means your lighting effects are safe, as are your DPI settings and any macros you've created using the software. I guess the real question here is whether or not I recommend the Dark Core RGB Pro. And if you can't tell already, the answer is an emphatic yes. The issues I found haven't haunted me too much, only cropping up on occasion. And you're realistically getting a lot of mouse for your money, especially when you consider it's wireless. Your choice of mouse, however, is certainly going to depend on your preferences, so the Dark Core may not float your boat. It's been perfect for me, but your mileage may vary. As I said, I don't play any shooters or any input sensitive games to a particularly high level.
Filthy casual.
But I've been using computers all my life, so I can tell a decent mouse from a bad one. And Corsair? Well done. You've done it again. If you've enjoyed this video or found it helpful at all, please do give it a thumbs up, or if you feel otherwise, you know what to do. However, if you want to share your strong tech head opinion, please feel free to do so down in the comments below. I do reply to every comment. Or if you feel the need to shout at me in real time, the Discord link is in the description, so hit that up. And I will see you in the next video. Adieu.